Chapter 43-21. Yiqing Luo's brows rose. Trample? Young Miss Ren, I don't like what you're saying. Yiqing Luo slowly stood up. The red flowing cloud-long dress followed her movements and fluttered like a dancing butterfly's wings. I didn't cheat him of his feelings nor his looks. Eldest Miss Ren, where did you see me trampling on him? As she stood up, his aura started to spread out. When she spoke, her long and narrow eyes were like poppies blooming, emitting a suffocating charm. Ren Jianying's heart tightened. The expression on his face was constantly changing. I gave you a chance. Ren Jianying gritted her teeth. It's you who rejected to be with Jian Ming. Since you rejected, why not be more straightforward? Yiqing Luo sneered. Don't you know how clingy your brother is? Ren Jianying turned cold. Eldest miss of the Gu family, it's not your turn to interfere in our Ren family's matters. Saying that, she turned around and fixed her gaze on Ren Jianming. Ren Jianming, you're the pride of the Ren family, the future successor of the Ren family. I only ask you one thing. Are you coming back to the Ren family with me? Eldest sister. Ren Jianming's face flushed red, as though the two ladies' conversation had caused all the anger he had suppressed in his heart to burst out. I don't want to be the successor of the Ren family. I don't want to be the pride of the Ren family. If I can't even choose the girl I like as the second young master of the Ren family, then what's the use of this identity? I will let you see my determination. As long as you don't accept eldest miss, I will not return to the Ren family. Ren Jianming's every word sounded like a hysterical roar and a venting of anger. His fists were clenched tightly. The veins on the back of his hands and joints were popping out. Ren Jianming. Ren Jianying didn't expect Ren Jianming to suddenly explode. That exquisite and beautiful face revealed an unbelievable anger. You're going to give up everything in the Ren family for this woman? You forced me to do this. Ren Jianming's chest heaved. Good, good. Ren Jianying seemed to be very angry. Her face was pale, and she pointed at Ren Jianming with a trembling finger. I'd like to see if a woman like you will still want you after losing the protection of the Ren family. Her gaze, turned towards Yiqing Luo venomously. Eldest young miss of the Gu residence is really capable. His words fell. She flicked her sleeves and strode towards the door. When she reached the door, she stopped but did not turn around. A sinister voice entered their ears. Ren Jianming, you will regret this. This continued until Ren Jianying's aura completely disappeared from the Bone residence. Ren Jianming, whose emotions were tense, face flushed, and eyes bloodshot, slumped into the chair as if he had collapsed. Yiqing Luo strolled over and raised her slender brows as she looked at him with a smile which didn't look like a smile. Now that you're not the second young master of the Ren family, what are you going to use to convince me to help you? This princess was chased out of the house because of you. Ren Jianming rubbed his face to make his expression revert back to normal. If eldest miss doesn't take me in, then I'll really be a homeless child. Because of me? Chapter 43-22. Ren Jianming grabbed a teacup and poured himself a cup of tea to drink. After moistening his throat, he said, You've seen through me again? It seems like I can't hide anything from you. He straightened his face and placed both hands on the table as he looked at Yiqing Luo solemnly. I indeed want to leave the Ren family. Yiqing Luo used her slender fingers to caress her chin, as though she had seen through everything. Looks like the person you're really guarding against is your eldest sister. Ren Jianming's hedonistic look was obviously intentionally displayed in front of Ren Jianying. Thank you for not exposing me earlier. Ren Jianming took a deep breath. If I go back with her this time, I'm afraid I won't have the chance to leave the Ren family anymore. Yiqing Luo asked, Ren Jianying wants the inheritance rights? She thought back to the news that Gu Yun had mentioned to her about the Ren family. The current Ren family's power holder was actually Ren Jianying. Obviously, there was a talented successor like Ren Jianming around. But the power holder was still Ren Jianying. What are you afraid of? Yiqing Luo asked again. This was the only explanation. If it wasn't for fear, based on Ren Jianming's reputation and the legitimate Ren family's bloodline. It shouldn't be Ren Jianying's turn to make the decision. But Ren Jianming had to pretend to be a hedonistic in front of Ren Jianying and had no interest in power, only wanting to lead a befuddled life, wandering around. This was obviously to hide from Ren Jianying. Hearing Yiqing Luo's question, Ren Jianming lowered his head and didn't reply. The expression on his face was unprecedentedly grave and solemn. In his heart, he was in a dilemma, hesitating whether to tell Yiqing Luo everything. After a long time, his fingers clenched tightly. That hand which was dyed black from the poison also felt a sharp pain because of this action. He pursed his lips and tightened his grip, as though he had made the final decision. He raised his head and looked at Yiqing Luo without blinking. Yes, I'm afraid of her. Do you still remember what I said earlier? There will be a huge calamity in the heaven realm in half a month's time? The expression on Yiqing Luo's face was filled with a deep sense of ridicule. Surely you're not saying that. This matter has something to do with Ren Jianying? Yes. Ren Jianming was already used to Yiqing Luo's ability to see through one's heart. He continued, I've been by your side all this time, which has aroused her suspicions. Just now, she came to test me. Of course, there's another motive. It's almost time for the excellence list. She wants to trap me in the Ren family to prevent me from disrupting her plans. Yiqing Luo's fingers touched her chin. The mysterious force you mentioned. Is it your eldest sister? No. Ren Jianming looked up. Big sister has cooperated with that mysterious force. Their goal is to rebuild a realm that belongs to her, Ren Jianying, after destroying Heaven Realm. She wanted to become the one and only ruler of the Heaven Realm. How did you know? I accidentally overheard it. If that mysterious force is really as powerful as you said and can destroy Heaven Realm, how could you not detect it when you were eavesdropping? Yiqing Luo expressed her doubts. Ren Jianming's face turned slightly red. At that time, Big Sister was in the room with that force's representative, doing that kind of thing, so she didn't notice me. Looking at Ren Jianming's expression, she knew. Chapter 43-23. Yiqing Luo connected everything that Ren Jianming said into a line. She crossed her arms and leaned back against the table, tilting her head to look at him. How do you prove what you said? Ren Jianming suddenly raised his head and coincidentally met with the young lady's smiling eyes. His heart inexplicably skipped a beat. When he opened his mouth to speak, his voice unconsciously stuttered. What I said is all true. I now want to beg you, don't dare to lie. Yiqing Luo slowly lowered her body. Somewhat condescending aura. Ren Jianming only felt his heart getting more and more nervous. In his eyes, the young girl's alluring and beautiful face was reflected. All of a sudden, he seemed to be startled. He stood up abruptly, avoiding eye contact with Yiqing Luo. He held the back of the chair and quickly turned around, with his back facing Yiqing Luo. Since I was 5 years old, I discovered that eldest sister is very strange. Yiqing Luo pulled a chair over and sat down. I was 5 years old, she was only 7 years old. But she seemed to know a lot of things that even father didn't know. In front of the elders, she appeared to be very obedient, but behind the scenes, she was using another identity, secretly developing her own power. She seemed to be a natural-born businesswoman, able to grasp any business opportunities, like she could predict the future. In just a few years, she had already controlled the entire old city, and even half of the main city's trade routes in Heaven Realm. Then, when she was 14 years old, she stretched her hands to the Ren family. She was able to accurately know the internal affairs of the various large families, and took precautions in advance. She also knew the secrets of the Ren family's various elders, and could accurately catch all those who had ill intentions towards the Ren family. Step by step, she controlled the Ren family's lifeline, and became the person behind the Ren family. Now, her target has already set the entire Heaven Realm. Speaking of this, Ren Jianming's body trembled slightly. The fingers on the back of the chair almost scratched the back of the chair. He suddenly turned around, a trace of madness flashed in his eyes. Eldest miss, do you think my eldest sister has the ability to predict the future? Only with foresight could Ren Jianying advance step by step and reach her current position. Otherwise, Ren Jianming wouldn't be able to understand. How on earth did Ren Jianying manage to take the most appropriate precautions every time an incident happened? Foresight? I'm afraid not. Yi Qing Luo touched her pink lips with interest. What is that? Ren Jianming asked anxiously. Yi Qing Luo didn't reply, but instead her lips curled into an arc as she retorted with a question. When did you start to conceal your true thoughts? From when I was 8 years old. Ren Jianming's eyes darkened. I saw with my own eyes, when she was only 10 years old, she killed her uncle because he rejected her proposal. Children of their birth. Compared to other children, he matured much earlier. From a young age, they would accept the lifestyle of a large family. From then on, Ren Jianming knew it. He was extremely talented. He was appointed as the successor of the Ren family. One day, he would become a stepping stone for his elder sister. Therefore, he began to learn how to disguise himself. He began to befriend a bunch of scoundrels and turned himself into a man of luxury. Chapter 43-24. He had successfully molded himself into a hedonistic son of a rich family. And successfully numbed Ren Jianying. From then onwards, Ren Jianying's attitude towards him was obviously different. Ren Jianying no longer looked at him coldly. It was no longer directed at him. But she really treated him like a younger brother and doted on him. But this kind of doting was established in another way. Ren Jianying was using her own way to condone his misdeeds. Suppressing all the protesting voices in the family. She allowed him to completely ruin her reputation. Then as a good sister, she came forward to clean up the mess. Later on, the entire old city knew about it. There was a little overlord in the Ren family. A genius overlord. Except for those scoundrel friends of his. Everyone who saw his appearance would avoid him with a headache, not willing to have any interaction with him. Speaking of this, Ren Jianming's body started to tremble slightly. He shut his eyes tightly, suppressing all the emotions in his heart. Finally, he opened his eyes and looked at Yi Qing Luo with a resolute gaze. Eldest miss, I really hope you can help me, help the Ren family, help Heaven Realm. Yi Qing Luo turned her head, her expression was indifferent. I don't have that ability. Save him. As long as he wakes up, he will definitely be able to control eldest sister. Ren Jianming clenched his fists tightly, his tone was filled with unwavering determination. If you really can't save him, it's alright, at least we have tried. I will consider it. Yi Qing Luo straightened her body and smiled slightly. Since you have left the Ren family, then stay in the Gu residence. Ren Jianming's eyes suddenly lit up. Let him stay. Did that mean that she had already relented? She would help? He couldn't hide the excitement on his face. His eyes were fixated on the young lady's gorgeous face, looking at the smile on the young lady's lips. His lips uncontrollably curled upwards. He hadn't had time to express his gratitude and touched. Yi Qing Luo looked at the door and raised her voice. Gu Yun. Gu Yun quickly walked in. When she saw Ren Jianming, she stared at him in disgust. Arrange a guest room for second young master Ren. He will be staying here for a period of time. Yi Qing Luo instructed. Gu Yunmiao was stunned and her eyes widened. Eldest miss, you let this hedonistic son live in the Gu residence? Didn't first mistress say yesterday that she had made things clear with second young master Ren and that they would never see each other again? Today, it had developed into, were they going to live together? The first miss actually agreed to live under the same roof as the playboy? Was eldest miss deceived? Countless thoughts flashed through Gu Yun's mind. Yi Qing Luo poked her head. What nonsense are you thinking about? I was just being kind, seeing that he was homeless. I took him in for a few days. Gu Yun looked at Ren Jianming with a vigilant expression. Eldest miss, that kind of hedonistic playboy is the most scheming. Don't be fooled by him. Yiqing Luo seemed to have smelled something important as a trace of ridicule surfaced in her eyes. She suddenly stretched out her hand and circled it around Gu Yun's neck. She lowered her voice and moved closer to Gu Yun's ear as she laughed softly, "Little Yun, don't tell me. You've been cheated by him?" Gu Yun's face flushed red in an instant. I didn't. How could I possibly be cheated by a hedonistic playboy? I'm worried about you. His negative tone sounded like he was full of energy. But that flushed red face. Chapter 43-25. No wonder every time Gu Yun saw Ren Jianming, she would have that expression. Alright, be good. Now he needs my help, he won't dare to lie to you. Yiqing Luo rubbed Gu Yun's head. Gu Yun pursed her lips and stared fiercely at Ren Jianming. Let's go, I'll bring you over. Ren Jianming didn't hear the whispers between the two. Hearing Gu Yun's shout, he then reacted. He hurriedly walked to Gu Yun's side. Just as he was about to leave with Gu Yun, he suddenly stopped in his tracks and looked at Yiqing Luo solemnly. Eldest young miss, thank you. Yiqing Luo curled her lips at him as she casually waved her hand. Ren Jianming wanted to say something but Gu Yun tugged at him. Are you leaving or not? Ren Jianming touched his nose as he leaned forward and put his head in front of Gu Yun. I say, little lass, why are you so hostile towards me? Gu Yun was startled by the sudden appearance of a head and took 2 steps back. After her gaze fell onto Ren Jianming's face, her eyes flickered for a moment. Immediately, she pursed her lips. I don't dare. How don't you dare? I think you're very daring. Ren Jianming didn't have the intention to let her off as he followed behind her and asked, how did I provoke you? Quickly tell me. Their voices gradually got further away. Yiqing Luo leaned against the table and stood for a while before walking out of the main door. Her mind kept repeating those words that Ren Jianming said. Everything was strung together. Towards Ren Jianming's words. She already believed half of it. After all, Ren Jianming had no need to lie to her about such things. That person that Ren Jianming mentioned, the only person who could stop Ren Jianying, the person who needed her to save, who was it? She was getting more and more curious. You really want to agree to help him? Qi Yan drilled in from the window, fluttered his wings and landed into Yiqing Luo's arms. Yiqing Luo lowered her head and met Qi Yan's eyes. You don't want me to help him? This sacred beast doesn't like him at all. Qi Yan snorted. The way he looks at you is extremely disgusting. Speaking of this, Red Flame seemed a little awkward. His little body squirmed a few times in her arms. Only then did he raise his chin up high. With an arrogant look, he said, as one of the 4 great heavenly clans of the Heaven Realm, the Ren clan is too complicated. If you were to interfere, you would definitely not be able to leave in a short period of time. Furthermore, you would attract a lot of trouble. After saying that, he probably felt that his words seemed to be overly worried about Yiqing Luo. He then added, this holy beast is not concerned about you. This holy beast only feels that you're a good-for-nothing now. If you cause a lot of trouble, in the end, I'll be the one to clean up the mess. Listening to the little fellow's tsundere words, Yiqing Luo couldn't help but laugh as her slender fingers tapped on its little head. I might not agree to help him. I need to ascertain if that mysterious powerhouse, the powerhouse which Ren Jianying is working with, is related to the secluded palace. Qi Yan's red eyes turned. Then, what if it's really related to the Palace of Darkness? Yiqing Luo pondered for a moment. Then we can only choose to intervene. Of course, I have to destroy the Palace of Darkness. Most importantly, if the other party was really the Palace of Darkness, the other party might not let her off so easily. Chapter 43-26. Hey. Qi Yan stared at her. Do you know what you're saying or not? Based on your current situation, you'll die before you even reach secluded palace. Yiqing Luo propped Qi Yan up and placed him next to her as she smiled. are you concerned about me? Qi Yan's little wings moved as his little head turned unconsciously, not looking into Yiqing Luo's eyes. Following that, he gave an imposing harumph. This sacred beast doesn't care about you. This sacred beast is only worried that you're dead. This sacred beast has even signed a contract with you. Looking at this little fellow's stubborn look, the smile in Yiqing Luo's eyes deepened. She rubbed Qi Yan's head hard. Don't worry, I'm not an idiot, why would I risk my life? She put down Qi Yan and the expression on her face became extremely gentle. I'm no longer alone. I'm shouldering so many people's hopes, how could I possibly let myself fall? She still needed to return to Xian's side alive. She still needed to live and reunite with her brothers in the world group. How could she bear to mess around? Qi Yan stared blankly at Yiqing Luo's gentle face as his red eyes blinked. After some time, he turned his head away arrogantly as he gave a soft harumph. You know your limits. This sacred beast doesn't want Master to die so quickly. Yiqing Luo. Couldn't he say something more auspicious? The following days, Ren Jianming stayed in the Gu residence without any psychological burden. Moreover, he stayed in a natural and casual manner. And Ren Jianming wanted to put on a good show, plus he pestered Yiqing Luo to agree to his request. Ren Jianming seemed to be sticking to Yiqing Luo's side except at night. Initially, Gu Yi sensed that there were Ren family spies circling around the Gu residence. Yiqing Luo made Gu Yi pretend not to have discovered anything. Ren family spies observed for 2 days. They saw Ren Jianming sticking to Yiqing Luo all the time, going in and out together. He was thrown out of the courtyard by Yiqing Luo several times. Those spies then retreated. But Ren Jianming didn't let his guard down because of this. Because the enemy he was facing wasn't anyone else. Instead, it was his only elder sister, who shared the same father and mother, the closest bloodline to him, and who had the ability to foresee. Lin Quibble. Yiqing Luo had asked Gu Yun to secretly investigate some of the Ren family's secrets. He was also investigating whether or not there was any aura from the Dark Nether Palace in the old city. As long as the Palace of Gloomy Darkness came, there would definitely be some clues left behind. Just like that, another 3 days passed. There were only 10 days left before the opening of the Excellence List. Ren Jianming became more anxious. The closer it was to the ranking list, this meant that danger was about to descend. He increased the speed, urging Yiqing Luo to save him. After being harassed for an entire day, Yiqing Luo's ears were about to grow calluses, so she directly asked Gu Yi to throw him out. The second time, Yiqing Luo really didn't see Ren Jianming at all. After being pestered for several days, Yiqing Luo was still not used to it. Until she finished her breakfast. Ren Jianming was nowhere to be seen. When did Ren Jianming become so obedient? Did he change his personality? With Ren Jianming's personality, he wouldn't listen so easily, right? Yiqing Luo suddenly thought of something as her expression congealed. She suddenly stood up. Gu Yun, why didn't Ren Jianming come over today? Chapter 43-27. He left the residence in a hurry early in the morning. When I asked him where he was going, he didn't say. Gu Yun continued. Left the residence in a hurry? Yiqing Luo's eyes narrowed as a deep meaning flashed past her eyes. I'm going out for a while. Eldest young miss, are you going to look for Master Ren? Gu Yun frowned. I know, I shouldn't interfere with Master's thoughts, but I still have to say, the Ren family's relationship is too complicated. Now that Bone Lord is not in the residence, we shouldn't have any conflict with the Ren family. She paused as her hands clenched tightly. Eldest young miss, I'm worried. Worried that you and Master Ren are too close, and met with the Ren family. Gu Yun had been helping her to investigate the Ren family's matters recently. Towards Ren Jianming's ambition. She naturally could tell. Ren Jianming wanted the Ren family. The biggest thorn in her side was Ren Jianming. Ren Jianming would definitely deal with Ren Jianming. Yiqing Luo patted Gu Yun's shoulder. I know what you mean, don't worry. I assure you, Ren Jianying currently absolutely won't dare to touch me. If Ren Jianying wanted to start a war during the ranking list, she would absolutely not cause any trouble at this juncture. If she really touched her, that would be touching the Gu residents. The Gu residents naturally wouldn't let the Ren family off so easily. How would Ren Jianying allow such a thing to happen? Eldest young miss. Gu Yun was very clear that she couldn't persuade eldest young miss as she helplessly sighed, then bring a few more secret guards to protect you in the dark. Gu Yi is enough. Yiqing Luo shook her head. After walking out of the Gu residence, Yiqing Luo's first goal was to head towards the Ren family. To make Ren Jianming leave the Gu residence in a hurry early in the morning. Only the Ren family's matters could make him like this. Ren Jianming might have returned to the Ren family before she could confirm whether Ren Jianying's collaboration was with the secluded Darkness Palace. This Ren Jianming couldn't be allowed to return to the Ren family. Just as she walked to the small alley near the Ren family, she heard a fighting sound coming from the small alley. Bang, bang, bang. The sounds of collisions were extremely clear in this alley. Yiqing Luo took a look. At the end of the alley, about a dozen people formed a circle and were punching and kicking the person on the ground. These people did not release any profound strength. It was a real hand-to-hand fight. No, it should be called a real beating. Because the people who were trapped on the ground couldn't resist at all. Yiqing Luo only took a glance. He walked straight into the alley. Ha ha ha, aren't you the high and mighty second young master of the Ren family? Why are you so cowardly? Stand up. Aren't you usually very arrogant? Didn't you step on me and say that I'm just a piece of trash who licks your shoes? What? Now you want to lick my shoes? Second young master of the Ren clan. How can the dignified second young master of the Ren clan be so pitiful? Ha 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 ha. Second young master Ren, who has been chased out of the Ren clan, what else can he do? Their arrogant words were full of ridicule. While laughing and scolding, he also used his legs to kick and hit hard. Ren family. Second young master. Ren Jianming. Those people scolding successfully stopped Yiqing Luo's footsteps. She stopped beside the 10 over people and looked at the person who was surrounded in the middle. Little beauty, what are you looking at? Don't be a busybody. If you hurt your pretty little face, the few of us will feel heartache. Chapter 43-28. The man who was surrounded by 10 over people suddenly stood up and knocked against those people with force. The person you want to target is me. Don't implicate the innocent. Those 10 over people were knocked back a few steps. The few of them held on to the places where they were knocked as the expressions on their faces turned extremely sinister. One of them strode over and grabbed that man's collar as he gave a heavy punch on that man's abdomen. Second young master Ren, who do you think you are now? You can't even take care of yourself and you still want to take care of others? Innocent? Second young master Ren also knows how to use the word innocent. How did you treat us in the past? When you broke both my legs, didn't you think that I'm not innocent? Ha ha ha. Kneel on the ground like a dog and beg me to spare you, spare this innocent person. Ha 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 ha. Ha ha ha. The group of people behind followed closely and rushed forward. They waved their fists and used their feet to kick. Earlier, when that man knocked against the crowd, it also allowed Yiqing Luo to clearly see the appearance of that man who was surrounded by 10 over people. Second young master Ren. Ren Jianming. It was indeed him. Why was he surrounded and beaten up by such a group of people at the Ren family's doorstep? Based on Ren Jianming's ability. Even if he was no longer the Ren family's second young master, it shouldn't be a problem for him to deal with these people. Seeing those 10 over people, their fists and feet were all aimed towards Ren Jianming. Yiqing Luo patted the little fellow in her arms lightly. Go. Qi Yan flapped its wings as it shook its head hard, unwilling to go forward. Yiqing Luo poked its head. Be good, listen to me. At the same time, Ren Jianming was punched and kicked by the 10 over men in front of him. The man standing right in front raised his leg and stepped on Ren Jianming's chest. Yiqing Luo's eyes sunk as she speedily threw the qi yan in her hands towards the crowd. A ball of blazing red flashed past their eyes. The few of them didn't have time to react. Their bodies were flipped over by a huge force. A strong aura enveloped the surroundings. They fell heavily onto the ground. Those who were flipped over one after another crashed into each other. The piercingly cold air waves were like surging tides. More than a dozen people screamed and struggled to get up from the ground. Who are you? How dare you meddle in other people's business? More than a dozen people howled in pain as they glared angrily ahead. But just now, they saw that the beautiful girl who looked gentle like water, who did not have the slightest fluctuation of profound energy on her body, was looking at them with a smile. It's you, bitch. Bitch, you actually dare to attack us? Do you know who we are? Go. I'll deal with this bitch first. The anger of more than a dozen people rose slowly. Each and every one of them clenched their fists and released a powerful profound wave pressure. However, when they pounced ferociously towards Yiqing Luo. However, it was blocked by a transparent barrier. It was like a sudden wave of qi had blocked all of their attacks. Before he even got close to Yiqing Luo, the powerful aura sent them flying again. Bang, bang, bang. The cries of pain and the sounds of collisions echoed in the alley. Large patches of red were reflected in the eyes of more than a dozen people. The entire alley had turned into a sea of fire. As though a fire dragon had opened its bloody mouth, spitting out large patches of flames, burning everything in the surroundings. More than a dozen people cried out in terror. Chapter 43-29. But like a fire dragon's flame, it bared its fangs and brandished its claws, as it covered the entire alley. There was nowhere for them to escape. The scorching flame was burning their skin. Obviously, the flame was burning on them. But it didn't burn their clothes or hair. Only that scorching heat enveloped them, like steaming buns, making their breathing became more and more difficult. While the fire dragon was surging, the 10 over people only saw a slender figure, as she slowly walked over. The young lady's blazing red dress blended with the flame, like a blooming poppy, releasing a fatal temptation. The young lady slowly walked in front of Ren Jianming. Following her footsteps, the flame automatically opened up a path. She bent over slightly, as she stretched out a hand towards Ren Jianming. Can you still stand up? The man lying on the ground, covered in blood, opened his eyes in a hazy state. When he met that young lady's face, he grinned. It's you. Why are you here? Under the flame, that man's face was extremely pale, stained with turbid blood and dirt. Yiqing Luo patiently said, if you don't wish to get up, then I won't help you up. Saying that, she was about to withdraw her hand. Up, up, up. Ren Jianming immediately got up, as he wanted to grab that hand. But the moment he moved, the wounds on his body dragged him, as he couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. His body uncontrollably fell backwards. Yiqing Luo impatiently pursed her lips. At the moment when the man fell, one hand grabbed his arm, as she forcefully pulled him up. Really useless. I also feel that. I'm really useless. Ren Jianming's body swayed, as his lips twitched with a bitter smile. The smile on his face looked even uglier than crying. Return to the bone residence. Yiqing Luo rolled her eyes at him, as she pulled him away. Behind her, those 10 over people's pleading voices were heard. Female hero. Female hero, please spare us. We're going to be burned to death. Sir, you're magnanimous, please spare us, this fire. Save us, save us. We're only following orders. Sorry female hero, sorry second young master Ren. 10 over people, in this raging fire, didn't even have the energy to escape. Yiqing Luo halted her footsteps, as she turned her head to look at those few people who were struggling in the fire, following orders. Whose orders? The eldest daughter of the Ren family. It's the eldest daughter. Those people hurriedly replied, eldest mistress wants to force second young master Ren to return to the Ren family, so she wants us to teach second young master Ren a lesson. Oh? Yiqing Luo's pink lips curled slightly. It's Ren Jianying. I understand now. With that, she turned around and left. We answered your questions, so you let us go. Let us go. The dozen or so people panicked. The feeling of being burned by fire was really unpleasant. Yiqing Luo laughed lightly. Her laughter was pleasing to the ear. What a pity. Since you've touched the person I'm looking for, you'll have to pay the price. She didn't even turn around. His footsteps did not slow down at all. He let the screams of the people behind him gradually fade into nothingness. A palm-sized red bird scuttled out from the flames and chased after Yiqing Luo. He couldn't help cursing, bitch. How dare you treat this sacred beast like this? This sacred beast will never help you again. The flames were still burning. The dozen or so people in the flames had already lost all signs of life. Chapter 43:30. Indistinctly, two figures appeared on top of the wall. One of them was shrouded in a black cloak, revealing only a pair of sinister and treacherous eyes. One of them had an exquisite and beautiful face, with a dignified and steady look between her brows. Miss Ren. Looks like your plan has deviated. The black cloak man's voice was extremely piercing, as though he had intentionally used profound energy to change his voice. The lady, who was Ren Jianying, had a solemn and cold expression. Her pair of solemn beautiful eyes stared straight at the direction where Yiqing Luo and Ren Jianming had left, as she gave a cold laugh in a lukewarm tone. I said before, I will make him beg me willingly to return to the Ren family. The black cloak man laughed sarcastically. The higher-ups want me to remind you, that woman has interfered, so many of your plans had better be readjusted, otherwise you might not even know how you lost. Is it that magical? Ren Jianying's face was filled with disdain, as her eyes were filled with complacency and pride. The higher-ups, would they be afraid of a waste with no profound energy at all? Don't belittle her. The black cloak man hugged Ren Jianying's petite body. That pair of sinister eyes seemed to be dipped in poison, making one feel cold. I'm just reminding you on account of our relationship, that woman is not easy to deal with. You'd better not belittle your own enemy. Ren Jianying, who was suddenly hugged, didn't have any change on her face. Instead, she leaned her petite body into the black cloak man's embrace. Then one hand encircled that person's neck, slightly tilting her eyes. That beautiful face revealed a seductive look. Don't worry, I know what I'm doing. Once I've decided on something, no one can change it. No matter who it is. As she spoke, she slowly moved her fragrant lips towards his. The black cloak man suddenly locked her waist tightly, as he bent down and pressed the lady into his arms. Yiqing Luo dragged Ren Jianming, as they left the Ren family's boundary. On the streets, there were people coming and going. Ren Jianming's disheveled state made everyone cast their gazes over. Basically, the entire city's people, from 80 old people to 3-year-old children, were extremely familiar with Ren Jianming's looks. Suddenly seeing Ren Jianming in such a sorry state, it was as if he had been beaten up. Everyone couldn't help but speculate. Especially when he saw Yiqing Luo's extremely rough action of dragging Ren Jianming. One by one, the gazes which they shot towards Yiqing Luo were filled with different probing expressions. Could it be that the first miss of the Gu residence had beaten up second young master Ren? Otherwise, with the abilities of the Ren family's second young master, who else could do this to him? It could only be the first miss of the Gu residence that the Ren family's second young master was chasing after, right? However, isn't eldest young miss a little too heavy-handed? Ren Jianming suddenly covered his face and wailed, this young master's reputation of a lifetime, a reputation of a lifetime. All destroyed. Yiqing Luo felt uncomfortable being stared at by everyone. He heard Ren Jianming's voice again. He slapped him on the head. You still have the face to howl? Serves you right. Ren Jianming cried out exaggeratedly, I'm already in such a miserable state, and you still want to lay your hands on me, don't you have any sympathy? Serves you right. Yiqing Luo gave a cold harumph, confess yourself, or do I torture you to extort a confession, think about it carefully. Chapter 43-31. He remained silent for some time. He then pursed his lips tightly. Anyway, sooner or later you will find out, I don't intend to hide it from you. Ren Jianming patted Yiqing Luo's hand. Yiqing Luo moved her hand away. He tidied up his messy robe which was stained with blood. That face which was full of scars and dirt looked grave. He was about to open his mouth, suddenly, a basin of water poured down from above. Yiqing Luo's reaction was swift as she raised both her hands and pushed Ren Jianming. She followed suit and evaded it. But that basin of water was still mostly poured onto Ren Jianming. The smell of the water carried a nauseating stench. It mixed with the blood on Ren Jianming's body. "Io, sorry second young master, we didn't do it on purpose." Two heads popped out from the second floor window. They looked like 17 to 18-year-old youngsters. One of them was carrying a wooden bucket. Looking at the disheveled Ren Jianming, they laughed loudly. The verbal apology didn't sound sincere at all. Instead it seemed to be mocking something. Ren Jianming raised his head as his eyes stared at the two of them. The two of them laughed arrogantly. Second young master is angry? If you're angry, then come and hit us to vent your anger. As the two of them spoke, they suddenly threw the wooden buckets onto Ren Jianming. Following that, they leapt down from above. The wooden buckets landed. Ren Jianming clenched his fists as he punched the two wooden buckets. But the wooden buckets crashed heavily onto Ren Jianming, causing Ren Jianming to fall onto the ground in a disheveled state. Ha ha ha. Look at you now, like a drowning dog. Second young master, how can you be in such a disheveled state? Quickly stand up, just like in the past, if you're unhappy you'll take action on us. The two of them laughed so hard that they couldn't stand straight, their faces filled with ridicule. Ren Jianming fell onto the ground, his entire body tensed up. That tightly clenched fist, all the veins popped out. He didn't say a word. The two of them laughed till there was no meaning in it. They strode towards Ren Jianming. Raising their feet, they kicked towards Ren Jianming. Wait. The girl's clear and cold voice revealed an irresistible sense of oppression. A fiery red figure was already standing in front of Ren Jianming. It also blocked the actions of the two youths. After the two youths saw who it was, the arrogance on their faces retracted slightly. Isn't this the first young miss of the Gu clan? I've heard that the first young miss of the Gu estate has always been pestered by second young master Ren, wishing that she could kick him out of the Gu estate. Why is she pleading for second young master Ren now? Ha ha ha, could it be that, after being pestered by second young master Ren, eldest young mistress has fallen for him? The tone of the two men was extremely vulgar. The gaze he shot towards Yiqing Luo was filled with a sense of lasciviousness. Yiqing Luo's long and narrow eyes narrowed slightly. Who are you? Her tone was very calm. But if one looked closely, one could see that in the depths of the girl's half-squinted eyes, there was an extremely faint, chill. The two youths exchanged glances and looked at Ren Jianming who was lying on the ground behind Yiqing Luo. They had no intention to conceal their identities. I'm Zhao family's third son, Zhao Quan, once. I can be considered as second young master Ren's follower. I'm Li family's fourth son, Li Zhongtian, and second young master Ren's follower in the past. Zhao and Li family? Yiqing Luo recalled that the Zhao and Li family's representatives had gone over to the Gu estate, insisting that she give an explanation for that day when Princess Xia Zhu's battle pet Xiong Badian had crushed the Zhao and Li cultivators to death. Chapter 43-32. She curled her lips and glanced at Ren Jianming with her long and narrow eyes. Then, she looked at them with a faint smile. So, you two little sidekicks are planning to become the master now? The young masters of the Zhao and Li families looked at each other, and their expressions changed slightly. First Miss, the Ren family's second young master has already been removed from the Ren family, and his profound strength has been crippled, turning him into a cripple. Such a man isn't good enough for eldest Miss. Zhao Quan glanced at Ren Jianming. Even if you really like second young master Ren, I'm afraid Bone Lord won't agree to hand you over to a good-for-nothing. As expected, no wonder the second young master of the Ren clan had become a rat that everyone wanted to beat up. One by one, they found fault with him. If it wasn't arranged, she didn't believe it. Ren Jianying was really ruthless. Given the shameless things that Ren Jianming had done in the past, as long as he was no longer the second young master of the Ren family, Ren Jianming would definitely be punished. Those who had been hurt by Ren Jianming would definitely come to seek revenge. Especially, Ren Jianying even crippled Ren Jianming. The genius of the past had directly fallen to become trash. Wasn't this clearly letting Ren Jianming lie flat and be trampled upon? Once a woman became ruthless. It was truly terrifying. Yiqing Luo clicked her tongue as she glanced sideways at Ren Jianming, who was lying on the ground. How long more do you intend to lie there for? Ren Jianming did not reply. His eyes were empty and his expression was very indifferent. Yiqing Luo raised her leg and kicked him mercilessly. Why? Just because everyone thinks you're trash, do you really think you're trash? That kick was merciless. Ren Jianming grunted, but still didn't move. Yiqing Luo's slender brows rose slightly as she moved her feet to the other side. Since you want to be a waste, then go ahead. Your life and death has nothing to do with me. With that, she turned around to leave. I didn't. Just as she turned around, Ren Jianming's hoarse voice rang out. He propped himself up and slowly climbed up from the ground. He was trembling, and his battered and exhausted face was filled with pain. If you don't, then stand up. Don't be a coward. Yiqing Luo rolled her eyes at him. It's not like it's some insurmountable hurdle. Since this is your own choice, then stand upright and upright. Do you want to admit defeat now? Since that's the case, why don't you go back to the Ren family and be the second young master Ren? Isn't that better? Ren Jianming's body tensed up. He clenched his fists tightly. He gritted his teeth and forced himself to stand up. His body swayed as he walked towards Yiqing Luo's direction. Eldest Miss. Zhao Quan suddenly opened his mouth, his expression clouded over for a moment. If eldest Miss insists on not listening to our advice, then don't blame us for not knowing how to be tender to the fairer sex. Saying that, Zhao Quan and Li Zhongtian slowly walked towards Yiqing Luo. His steps were swift and fierce, and his expression was extremely gloomy. Yiqing Luo's pink lips curled up frivolously as she looked at the both of them with a smile. I'm afraid the both of you still don't know my character. The person I want, no one can even think of snatching him from me. Her gaze slowly fell onto Ren Jianming. What a coincidence, this lad is still of some use to me. Ren Jianming's pupils suddenly constricted. He stared blankly at Yiqing Luo's pair of smiling yet not smiling eyes. The young lady's words, in his ears, was like the most pleasant voice in the world. Chapter 43-33. His heart was beating wildly uncontrollably. As though it was going to jump out from his throat. This kind of unfamiliar feeling made Ren Jianming himself a little unused to it. He took a deep breath and steadied himself. He took another determined step towards Yiqing Luo. But then I'll have to offend you. Young Master Zhao and young Master Li sneered. Then, they moved and shot out their dark force. Not knowing when. Two long swords appeared in their hands as they directly slashed towards Yiqing Luo's face. Their actions were extremely swift and violent. They were certain that Yiqing Luo had no profound energy and was unable to avoid their attacks. Zhao Quan and Li Zhongtian. Ren Jianming's eyes widened as he screamed their names. Whoever dares to touch her, I want you to pay with your life. Just you? Zhao Quan snorted in disdain. The long sword in the book waved out a sword wave, majestic and thick. That was totally taking her life. Ren Jianming swiftly pounced forward, trying to help Yi Qing Luo to block this move. But his current body speed was not comparable to an ordinary person. He heard a few bam 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 exploding sounds. The strong profound wave set off thousands of huge waves. Layers and layers of it lingered in the sky. It also enveloped everything in front. Ren Jianming's heart seemed to be pierced by something fiercely. Even his breathing seemed to have stopped. No. Impossible. Eldest young miss was such a powerful person. She could even block Princess Xia Zhu's attack. How could she be defeated by trash like Zhao Quan and Li Zhongtian so easily? The Zhao and Li young masters are really daring, even daring to kill eldest young miss of the Gu residence. If Bone Lord returns, will these young masters of the Zhao and Li family still be alive? Don't forget, a few days ago, eldest young miss of the Gu residence and Princess Xia Zhu's battle pet, Princess Xia Zhu's battle pet crushed the Zhao and Li family's people to death. The Zhao and Li family are suppressing their hatred. Sigh, regarding this matter, we can only blame eldest young miss of the Gu residence for being too arrogant. She's obviously a trash, but she still went around creating trouble. This is exactly the same as second young master Ren. The two of them are really a match made in heaven. The surrounding cultivators couldn't help but mumble when they saw this scene. Many people were still staring in the direction of the surging profound waves. Soon, the profound waves gradually dispersed. The indistinct silhouette caused everyone to freeze on the spot. In front of him, a black figure stood in front of the girl. A hand was placed on Zhao Quan and Li Zhongtian's arms. Both of their attacks were stopped. Immediately after, the black figure's body erupted with a thick xian wave. There were a few cracking sounds. The bones in their wrists were broken, and they were thrown out. When the crowd saw the black figure clearly, they were shocked. Someone exclaimed, It's the secret guards of the Gu residence. Yes. Standing in front of Yi Qing Luo, blocking all the attacks, was Gu Yi. His expression was solemn as he stood there, emitting a powerful profound glow from his entire body, protecting Yi Qing Luo behind his back. Zhao and Li Zhongtian's arms were broken, as they rolled on the ground in pain. Yi Qing Luo's lips curled into an extremely faint smile as she slowly walked out from Gu Yi's back. Everyone can see clearly that you were the ones who tried to kill me first. So, even if I kill you, if the Zhao and Li family pursue this matter, it would merely be my legitimate self-defense. Yi Qing Luo's expression changed slightly. Chapter 43-34. Li Zhongtian widened his eyes in horror. Eldest young miss, are you sure you want to offend so many people just for a waste who has been removed from the Ren family? Zhao Quan hurriedly continued, I think with eldest young miss's intelligence, you must understand that, all these are eldest young Miss Ren's intention. If eldest young Miss is willing to give in and save second young Master Ren, eldest young Miss Ren will definitely be grateful to you. His tone was both threatening and seductive. Yi Qing Luo heard that and her slender fingers hooked a lock of her hair as she gave a sarcastic smile. Really? What if I'm not willing? What does eldest young Miss Ren want to do to me? Zhao Quan's face instantly darkened. His voice was also filled with ruthlessness. Eldest young miss, the reason why we call you eldest young miss is because of the Gu residence. Now that Bone Lord is not in the heaven realm and the Emperor is far away, if we really want to do anything to you, are you sure that just a few secret guards will be able to protect you? Yi Qing Luo tilted her head as she blinked her eyes, looking extremely cute. I'm also quite curious if they can protect me. Why not? Give it a try. Zhao Quan suddenly slammed the ground as he stood up from the ground. His facial features were all twisted into a ball. Eldest young miss is indeed a member of the Gu residence. This young master admires your boldness. Since eldest young miss wants to try, this young master will satisfy you. I'd like to know how many things Bone Lord gave you to protect your life. Li Zhongtian sneered as he clapped his hands. In an instant, about 30 guards dressed in martial attire appeared from all directions. In an instant, they blocked Yiqing Luo and Ren Jianming in the middle. Yiqing Luo cried out and poked Gu Yi's back. How is it, based on your ability, these people won't be a problem, right? Gu Yi didn't want to speak. What did this eldest young miss treat him as? Even if he was the former captain of the secret guards, his ability was the strongest among the secret guards. But that didn't mean that he was invulnerable, impervious to fire and water, right? The other party was obviously well prepared. Those people were definitely not ordinary people. Still no problem. He was ridiculing in his heart. But Gu Yi's face was still expressionless as he looked at Yiqing Luo. I will risk my life to protect eldest young Mississippi, Tisk. There's no way to deal with it. Yiqing Luo sighed as she shook her head with a look of pity. Bone 1, Zhao Quan and Li Chongtian naturally heard the conversation between the two of them. The two of them burst into laughter at the same time. Are you afraid now? Eldest miss, you should know that in the heaven realm, other than Bone Lord, you have no one to rely on. Offending young Miss Ren won't do you any good. If you know fear, if you go and plead with young Miss Ren, perhaps young Miss Ren will let you go. Really? Suddenly, a familiar voice sounded from outside the crowd. Soon, a group of people passed through the crowd and walked toward them. The onlookers, under the pressure of this group of people, unconsciously made way for them. Walking in the front was a man and a woman. Behind them were 10 men dressed in white, each of them tall and burly, imposing. Yiqing Luo's line of sight immediately fell onto that man and woman. The expression on her face revealed a J part shock and J part joy. Bam! A burst of profound waves surged. Those guards who were surrounding Yiqing Luo were all overturned by an invisible force. Chapter 43-35. Cooperative relationship, so she could move around freely in this Ling Long Palace? Yiqing Luo. The Palace Lord of Seclusion Palace gazed deeply at her face, as his voice sounded a little hoarse. The current him was no longer in Dmo Xian's appearance. That voice carried a layer of heavy, like a machine, as it blurred his original voice. It sounded extremely strange. What's the matter? Yiqing Luo asked coldly. I'm sorry. He sighed softly, as he apologized helplessly. I didn't know that because of me, it would cause you to fall into this impasse. Yiqing Luo scoffed lightly, as her eyes were filled with ridicule. Didn't know? Palace Lord of Seclusion Palace, what on earth are you trying to express? She tilted her head, as she gave a teasing smile. Could it be that the Palace Lord of Seclusion Palace really likes me? After scheming against me in secret, you ran over to explain in various ways. I don't know. I didn't do it on purpose. I really don't know anything. Palace Lord of Seclusion Palace, did I foolishly believe you, and feel that you're very innocent? The Palace Lord of Seclusion Palace suddenly raised his head, as the eyes under the black robe fell onto her. What did he want to say? But he didn't know how to explain. This matter, I really don't know anything. The words that I said to you are from my heart. The Palace Lord of Seclusion Palace finally said helplessly. Pausing for a moment, he lowered his head, as his voice became repressed. No matter if you believe me or not, I still want to explain to you clearly. But, this matter, although it wasn't my original intention, but the matter is indeed. Because of me, you were brought to Ling Long Palace, indeed. It's my fault. I'm sorry. The Palace Lord of Seclusion Palace's eyes under the black robe shut tightly. He wasn't willing to look at that young lady's gaze, which was filled with ridicule. He really didn't expect this. How could things be so coincidental? So coincidental that everything seemed as though it had long been arranged. Chapter 43-36. Huang Fuxing went up and gave him a gentle hug. Thank you. If it wasn't for Yiqing Luo. Right now, he was probably still a cowardly Pei Sheng who was holed up in the earth realm. Perhaps, because of the auction house being forcefully taken back, he would choose the same ending as his father, to commit suicide. He wouldn't be like now, standing in the heaven realm's territory. He wouldn't pluck up the courage to admit his feelings for Gu Zishi. The one he was most grateful for, the one he sincerely wanted to thank, was Yiqing Luo. The young lady smiled like a flower as she raised her head. Her brows were filled with a gentleness which belonged to her friends. No need to tell me, the one you should be most grateful to is Zishi. The three of them smiled at each other. The surrounding people were completely dumbfounded when they saw this scene. Huangfu family and eldest miss of Gu residence were old acquaintances. From the way they interacted, it was obvious that they had a close relationship. When had they ever seen such a gentle smile on eldest miss of Gu residence's face? The crowd instantly looked at the Zhao and Li family's young masters with sympathetic gazes. This was like kicking an iron bench. Ren family was one of the four heavenly families. This Huangfu family was also one of the four heavenly families. No one was worse than the other. The Ren family would absolutely not cause any conflict with the Huangfu family because of the Zhao and Li family. It could be said, the Zhao and Li family's actions today was to curry favor with others. It was totally looking for death. Young Master Huangfu, young Master Huangfu. Spare me, spare me. Zhao Quan was the first to react as he dragged his body, which was covered in blood, and crawled towards Huangfu Sheng's direction. Li Zhongtian also crawled over hurriedly. Young Master Huangfu, we were only entrusted by someone, we had no other choice. Zhao Quan immediately kowtowed towards Yiqing Luo. Eldest miss, you're a magnanimous person, please forgive our rudeness earlier. We only wanted to teach second young master Ren a lesson. Yiqing Luo's lips curled as she smiled sweetly. Entrusted by someone? Don't tell me that you didn't want to become the master from a follower, so you intentionally sought revenge on Ren Jianming? No. Li Zhongtian immediately opened his mouth. Second young master Ren has treated us well and we have always been following second young master Ren. How could we have any personal grudges? We were all forced. Force? You're the young masters of the Zhao and Li family, who dares to force you? Yiqing Luo rubbed her chin as she glanced sideways at Ren Jianming's direction. Do you think we were forced? Ren Jianming wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. He moved his body and wobbled a little. However, that pair of sinister eyes was extremely sharp. He sneered. Even if he didn't say anything. Young Master Zhao and young Master Li also felt Ren Jianming's anger. The two shivered and glanced at Huangfu Sheng. We were really forced. Second young Master Ren, we listened to you when we were with you. How could we dare to betray you? It's your big sister, your big sister. Zhao Quan suddenly raised his voice and suppressed Li Zhongtian's. It was Lady Ren who was worried about you. She hoped that you could return to the Ren family and live a good life as the future heir. That's why she came up with this plan. She wanted you to understand your status and your importance. They knew very well in their hearts. The first miss of the Gu clan had purposefully questioned them in front of everyone. He wanted to force the name of Miss Ren from their mouths. Even if they lied, it would only infuriate the Huangfu family. Chapter 43-37. It was just that he had beautified Miss Ren. This way, he was not lying. He could also protect Miss Ren's reputation. Zhao Quan felt that he was too smart. When Li Zhongtian heard this, he hurriedly nodded his head in agreement. When we received young Miss Ren's request, our hearts also did not approve of using such a method. However, you are after all our boss. Young Miss Ren is also doing this for the Ren family. We also cannot bear to see second young Master Ren abandon the entire Ren family for the young miss of the Gu residence, following Li Zhongtian's words. The surrounding crowd seemed to have thought of something. Instantly, the expressions on their faces became a little weird. That's right, Ren Jianming was the future successor of the Ren family, the genius second young master that the Ren family thought highly of. The Ren family had high hopes for him. But now, because of his admiration for Miss Gu, he completely disregarded the Ren family. He did not even listen to his own elder sister's words. One must know, although Miss Gu had a very noble status, the entire heaven realm was talking about it. Bone Lord would marry the first young mistress to whoever emerged as the champion on the honor list. But, after all, the first miss of the Gu residence was trash. A girl with no Xian strength and only knew some low-level tricks. So what if she had a noble status? If any family member married Miss Gu in order to get close to Bone Lord, this girl was not only unable to help the family with their business. They could not take in concubines or do anything that would let Miss Gu down. Because there was still Bone Lord above them. Marrying Miss Gu. That was equivalent to marrying a flower vase. And a flower vase ancestor that could not be offended. So, the moment Miss Gu's identity was spread out, every single unmarried man was extremely excited. After knowing that Miss Gu was trash with no Xian strength, they were extremely disappointed. It was no wonder the eldest daughter of the Ren family would stop this marriage alliance. But, second young master Ren was obviously already determined to marry Miss Gu. He would rather leave the Ren family to be together with Miss Gu. No wonder Miss Ren would think of such a method to force second young master Ren to return home. Especially, seeing the recently popular young master of the Huangfu family being so close to Miss Gu, he wondered what the relationship between the two of them was. From the looks of it, even young Master Huangfu's fiancée had accepted the existence of the young miss of the Bone clan. Could it be that they had already discussed to share a husband? Facing the scrutinizing gazes of the crowd, Yiqing Luo didn't have too many emotions. She slowly straightened her body, her long and narrow eyes raised, carrying a hint of a smile, looking at the Zhao and Li family young masters. So that's how it is. Ren Jianming let his big sister down. Yiqing Luo seemed as though she was convinced as she repeated these words. When Zhao Quan heard that, his eyes lit up as he looked at Yiqing Luo agitatedly and nodded his head vigorously. Yes. It's like this. Young Mistress Ren is also racking her brains to think of second young Master Ren. Enough, Zhao Quan. Don't say any more. Jianming, he won't listen. Suddenly, a voice filled with pain and helplessness came from the crowd. His voice was a little hoarse. The moment he heard the voice, Ren Jianming's body suddenly tensed up. The onlookers cried out in surprise and quickly moved to make way for them. Chapter 43-38. The lady was dressed in a plain green long dress, outlining her exquisite waist. She stopped straightening her back. The expression on her face was the disappointment, helplessness, and pain of an elder. Her imposing manner had the delicateness of a lady. It also had the vigor and prestige of a superior. Solemn and dignified. Just one look and everyone was able to recognize the lady's identity. Eldest young Miss Ren is here. Eldest young Miss Ren. For this useless brother, you've really put in a lot of effort. It's said that femme fatale, eldest young miss of the Gu residence is also that fatale. We're both eldest young miss, but why is there such a huge difference? Shoo, don't say any more. Not only does she have Bone Lord backing her up, she also has the Huangfu family. If this gets to eldest young miss of the Gu residence's ears, you won't be able to bear the consequences. The surrounding discussions made Yiqing Luo speechless. They spoke so loudly. They totally had no intention to avoid her. She could hear them clearly without the need for others to pass it on, all right? Facing this bunch of retards, Yiqing Luo didn't even have the desire to bother about them. She lazily lifted her eyelids and squinted at Ren Jianming as her lips curled into a smile as she spoke in a lukewarm tone. Yo, isn't this eldest young Miss Ren? Ren Jianying's expression was solemn and cold as her gaze stopped on Yiqing Luo for several breaths before she placed all her attention on Ren Jianming. That exquisite and beautiful, yet dignified face instantly turned gentle. She sighed, "Jianming, are you done messing around?" Her tone was just the right amount of helplessness. She had controlled her emotions extremely well. But Yiqing Luo acutely discovered that when the lady turned her head and looked towards Ren Jianming, under her long hair, a portion of her fair neck was faintly revealed. On top, the mottled ambiguous traces were very obvious. Yiqing Luo clicked her tongue. This Ren Jianying was really incredible. She had just planned how to openly snatch back her brother's authority and arranged for people to seek revenge for her brother. And the moment she turned her head, she became entangled with her lover. She was indeed an ambitious lady. Her heart was rather big. Hearing Ren Jianying's words, Ren Jianming's face turned green and white as he stared at her with a venomous gaze. His hands were clenched into fists by his side. He seemed to be suppressing some sort of emotion. Ren Jianying didn't seem to notice. Putting on the airs of an elder, he advised earnestly, "Jianming, I know what you're thinking. I also want to give you what you want, however, you are the pride of the Ren family, the hope of the Ren family. What you carry is the Ren family's everything. You can't be so willful. Jianming, I know that using this method to force you has hurt you, but I'm doing this for your own good." As she spoke, she sighed and slowly walked towards Ren Jianming. Ren Jianming narrowed his eyes. The moment Ren Jianying walked over, he took a sudden step back. He staggered and almost fell to the ground. Fortunately, Huang Fuxing helped him in time. Ren Jianming steadied himself and glared at Ren Jianying. There was indescribable hatred in his eyes. "You, get lost." He spat out 2 words with great difficulty. His voice was tense and trembling, and his body was also trembling slightly. Ren Jianying furrowed her brows and her expression turned grim. "What's wrong with you? Are you not feeling well?" Chapter 43-39. We wouldn't dare. Zhao Quan and Li Chongtian's faces turned pale instantly. He threw himself onto the ground and kowtowed hard. When second young master Ren appeared, he was covered in injuries. Everyone can testify. Ren Jianying pursed her red lips tightly. Her brows were sharp, covered in injuries. Who dares to touch our Ren family successor? Zhao Quan and Li Chongtian knelt on the ground trembling and shook their heads desperately. Finally, Ren Jianying turned her gaze back to Ren Jianming. "Look at you, you just left the Ren family and you're already in such a state. Isn't it good to stay in the Ren family and be the Ren family's second young master?" What should I say to you?" Her face was filled with helplessness and heartache. After that, she sighed heavily. "Who is the one who hurt you? Tell me, I will make the other party pay a painful price." Every word, and every action, all showed how much she valued and cared for Ren Jianming. Her words were like sharp steel needles stabbing into Ren Jianming's heart one by one. Yiqing Luo laughed as she watched. She had to admit that Ren Jianying's acting was really good. If it was in her previous era, he must also be a shadow follower level character. Ah, Luo? Huang Fuxing looked at the Ren siblings and looked at Yiqing Luo in puzzlement. Huang Fuxing had naturally heard about the relationship between Yiqing Luo and Ren Jianming. After all, the news of Ren Jianming's pestering towards the eldest miss of the Gu residence had spread throughout the old city. After seeing that the eldest miss of the Gu residence was Yiqing Luo, of course he wouldn't suspect that there was any special relationship between Yiqing Luo and Ren Jianming. Ah, Luo's future husband was the high and mighty overlord. Tens of thousands of Ren Jianming were no match for the overlord. But he was still very curious. Why would Yiqing Luo be acquainted with this Ren family's second young master who didn't have a good reputation? Don't you feel that eldest Miss Ren's acting is not bad? Yiqing Luo laughed lightly. Her long and narrow eyes were filled with ridicule. She didn't intentionally lower her voice when she spoke. Naturally, the people around them heard it loud and clear. Ren Jianying's face froze for a moment. She raised her head and her gaze was slightly cold as she looked at Yiqing Luo, eldest young miss of the Gu residence. I don't know for what reason did you force Jianming to quarrel with his biological sister, even to the point of running away from home, but Jianming is my younger brother, the future successor of the Ren family. I will absolutely not allow you to destroy my younger brother, and destroy the Ren family. Her words of righteousness. Not only did she create the image of a good sister for herself. He even threw a pot onto Yiqing Luo. This caused everyone to unconsciously think that Ren Jianming's change, could it really be because of the first miss of the Gu clan? The first miss of the Gu residence was acquainted with the young master of the Huangfu clan. Suddenly, his mind was filled with a series of conspiracy theories. Big sister. Ren Jianming's tense and suppressed voice sounded like a beast that had been trapped for a long time. His voice was very hoarse. His fists were tightly clenched, as his eyes were filled with disappointment and helplessness. Don't push everything onto eldest Mississippi. Why did I become like this? You know it best, don't you? Jianming, even now, you still want to speak up for her? Ren Jianying looked extremely angry. Chapter 43-40. She sighed as she walked towards Ren Jianming and her tone was extremely gentle. Jianming, stop fooling around. Go home with big sister obediently. If you really like eldest young miss of the Gu residence, then show me your love for her. Prove it to big sister can compromise for you. Seeing Ren Jianying walking over. Ren Jianming's footsteps subconsciously retreated towards Yiqing Luo's side. Ren Jianying's footsteps halted as her face was filled with helplessness. In everyone's eyes. Ren Jianying was a strange lady who was worried for her good-for-nothing brother and broke her heart for the Ren family. All of them felt heartache for her and felt that it wasn't worth it. While Ren Jianming was retreating, his eyes were fixed on Ren Jianying. He didn't notice the wooden barrel which had unknowingly rolled to the side of his feet. Bam! His calf was hit by the wooden barrel. Ren Jianming's body was unstable as he fell heavily onto the ground. This fall was so painful that his face turned pale as he sucked in a cold breath. Jianming. Ren Jianying cried out in shock as there wasn't any trace of a strong woman's dignity on her face. It was filled with a sister's concern towards her brother. She quickly rushed to Ren Jianming's side as she squatted down and helped him up. Her worried gaze looked at Ren Jianming from head to toe. Jianming, are you hurt from the fall? Where do you feel uncomfortable? Go home with big sister. Go home with big sister will not let anything happen to you. Saying that, she hooked Ren Jianming's body as she tried to help him up. This movement made Ren Jianming feel as though his body was about to be torn apart. He waved his hand and pushed Ren Jianying away as he gritted his teeth angrily. I don't need your fake kindness. This push of his didn't push onto Ren Jianying. Instead, it was held by Ren Jianying's hand. She held onto his arm just like that. The gaze which she used to look at Ren Jianming was filled with solemnity and seriousness. The atmosphere, at this moment, became heavy. The air seemed to have condensed into frost. The surrounding people also stopped their discussions because of the change in the atmosphere. Just like that, there was a moment of silence. A lady's slightly trembling voice was heard, as though she was suppressing some emotions. Jianming, you. Is your body all right? The woman asked very cautiously. Every single word that came out of her mouth was extremely difficult. Ren Jianming's body tensed up as he stared at Ren Jianying. However, Ren Jianying acted as if she did not see his gaze. She continued to speak with a trembling voice. Jianming, don't tell me that in order for the young miss of the Gu clan to accept you, you turned yourself into an ordinary person? What about your profound strength? What about your profound rank? Why can't I sense any profound chi fluctuations from your body? Her question sounded as if she was deeply grieved. However, every single word was clearly transmitted into the ears of the surrounding spectators. Instantly, there was an uproar. The genius second young master of the Wren family had lost his profound strength? A cultivation genius that was rarely seen in 100 years had actually become a good-for-nothing? Just because he wanted to be together with the young miss of the Gu residence, he had turned himself into a piece of trash. Profound energy. Strength, to them, was the most important. How could such a powerful talent be wasted like this? If it was them. To have a talent like the second young master of the Wren family. They would rather become monks than to give up on this kind of talent. Chapter 43-41. Just now, when the Zhao and Li family's young masters threw the barrels at second young master Wren had no way to avoid them. They were still wondering just now. Second young master Wren was so strong. Looking at the entire old city and even the heavenly realm. No one should be able to leave such a wretched and severe injury on the body of the second young master of the Wren clan. Wait, suddenly, a voice sounded in the crowd. Second young master Wren is the heir of the Wren family. If he loses his dark force, doesn't it mean that he has lost the right to inherit the Wren family? The four great families will never let a useless person become the family head. Yes. Second young master Wren can't inherit the position of the Wren family head if he loses his dark force. The Wren family has few descendants. Now, they only have Miss Wren and a 5-year-old young master left. If second young master Wren loses his right to inherit the family, does that mean the Wren family has to be handed over to a 5-year-old child? Second young master Wren is too impulsive. He doesn't know how to think about his family at all. For a moment, everyone was talking about it. Their tone was full of disapproval for Ren Jianming. If this kind of thing happened in their family, they would probably vomit blood from anger. Ren Jianming seemed to be frightened and couldn't recover for a long time. She just stared at Ren Jianming without blinking. She didn't refute the words of the surrounding people. Until the discussion rose to a peak. Only then did Ren Jianming stand up as if she had lost her soul. She stared at Ren Jianming and said bitterly, "Good. Very good. This is your choice. You used this method to take revenge on the Wren family." She turned her back and raised her head slightly. The side profile of that beautiful face was very exquisite. Ren Jianming seemed to be extremely sad. She didn't even want to look at Ren Jianming. Clap, clap, clap. Amidst this chaotic atmosphere, a clap rang out. Everyone was instantly attracted by the sound of the applause. They saw the girl in red, who had been standing aside and watching the show for a long time, applauding and walking out. Her steps were very elegant, and the corner of her mouth was curled up with a faint sarcastic smile. That pair of long, narrow, and slightly upturned eyes exuded a chilly coldness when they looked at them. Everyone's discussion came to an abrupt halt. Ren Jianming's expression sunk as her beautiful eyes looked towards Yiqing Luo. "Are you satisfied now? My brother became like this because of you. You must be very proud, right?" The girl stopped clapping and crossed her arms. Step by step, he strolled over to her. He walked to Ren Jianming's side. Ren Jianming's body tensed up and she gathered her dark force vigilantly. But unexpectedly, Yiqing Luo didn't even bother to take a look at her as she walked past her and walked towards the crowd. Ren Jianming stood rooted to the ground like a fool. His right hand, which was gathering dark force, hung stiffly in midair. The expression on his face was sometimes twisted, and sometimes hideous. "You, come out." Yiqing Luo stood in front of the crowd, pointing towards a certain direction. Everyone saw the girl walking towards them. For some reason, he felt an indescribable pressure in his heart. It was obvious that the young girl in front of him did not have the slightest fluctuation of profound energy. But when he looked into the other's eyes, he felt a chill run down his spine. He couldn't stop the emotions from spreading in his heart. Finally, when the young girl's finger landed on a certain spot, everyone's suspenseful hearts then slowly calmed down. Chapter 43-42. The crowd dispersed. That person who was pointed out, wasn't he? The first person who mentioned that Ren Jianming had lost his inheritance rights? Eldest miss, what do you want to do? That person's voice was trembling. Yiqing Luo hooked her finger, come over. That person subconsciously took a look at Ren Jianming's direction. Yiqing Luo's lips curled, why? Do you need me to invite you over personally? That person realized that Ren Jianming had no intention to bother about him. He could only clench his teeth as he walked towards Yiqing Luo. A "pa" sound was heard. Yiqing Luo raised her hand. The glower flame fan's handle slapped onto that person's face. A deep red mark was imprinted on that person's face. Yiqing Luo took out a handkerchief from somewhere and wiped the fan handle bit by bit, as though she had touched some germs. She wiped it slowly and deliberately. Her long and narrow eyes looked at that person with a smile which didn't look like a smile. That person was slapped till he was in a daze, and the fiery pain made him regain his senses. He covered his face fiercely. You. What right do you have to hit me? She specially called him over, just to give him a slap. And he even personally sent his face in front of her? Don't think that I don't know the reason why Ren Jianming fell, is because you kicked that wooden barrel to his feet. After Yiqing Luo finished wiping, she threw the handkerchief casually towards that person's face. I said, Ren Jianming is the person I want to pick up now. Touching my person in front of me, I feel that you're provoking me. Yiqing Luo walked slowly as she took another step towards that person. That person was so frightened that he retreated backwards. His eyes were filled with fear towards Yiqing Luo. Eldest Miss Ren should be very clear on how Ren Jianming's profound energy was crippled. Acting sentimental and righteous here will dirty my eyes. Yiqing Luo's smile didn't diminish as the gaze she shot towards Ren Jianming was filled with ridicule. Ren Jianming's expression was solemn. You've already ruined my brother and now you want to ruin the Ren family? Yiqing Luo shrugged as she looked closely at that person beside her. Following that, she lifted her leg and kicked that person. That man cried out miserably as he was stepped on by Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo was full of mischievousness as she stepped on that person's body and bent down slightly. Almost all the weight was on that person's body. It's not up to you to decide whether Ren Jianming is qualified to inherit the Ren family. The future of the Ren family is not something you can control. In any case, it's impossible for Miss Ren to inherit the Ren family. Yiqing Luo's words seemed to be directed at the person beneath her feet. But everyone could tell. Yiqing Luo was saying this for Ren Jianming to hear. It could be said. Everything that Yiqing Luo had done to that person. Actually, they were all mocking Ren Jianming. That slap was no different from slapping Ren Jianming. That foot was no different from stepping on Ren Jianming. Everyone was so shocked by the scene in front of them that they could not close their jaws. None of the people present were fools. Anyone could tell that there was some kind of conspiracy going on in this matter. After all, Ren Jianming had become useless. The Ren family was without a leader. They definitely couldn't let that 5-year-old child be in charge. In the end, it would still land in the hands of Ren Jianming, who was still in charge. No matter if Ren Jianming was really innocent or the mastermind in this matter. As long as it didn't affect their interests. They were too lazy to think deeply about it. It was impossible to say it out in the open. But Yiqing Luo had said it. Chapter 43-43. How could eldest young miss of the Gu residence determine that the successor of the Ren family could not be Ren Jianming? Based on the current situation of the Ren family, there was only Ren Jianming this choice. Yiqing Luo didn't mind what storm and whirlpool her words had stirred up. She turned her head back and looked at the man who was stepping on her feet as her smile became even nastier. Her brows were filled with a teasing smile. Your master doesn't seem to have any intention to save you. Since that's the case, why don't I start with you first? Saying that, she waved the glower flame fan in her fingertips. That man gave a terrified scream as he covered his face and couldn't stop the miserable cries from coming from his mouth. That fan which Yi Qing Luo had slapped on his face earlier. He had used an extremely crafty technique to do so. That scorching pain was even more unbearable than making a few cuts on his face. Between her fingers. That man saw Yi Qing Luo, and that evil smile was magnified in front of him. Suddenly, a ray of silver light flashed past. He saw the young lady's red feather fan drawing out a sharp dagger. The blade shone with a cold glint. She wanted to kill him? That man instantly felt his breathing stagnated. The miserable cries made the surrounding crowd dig their ears as they looked at that man with a mocking gaze. Following that, they smelled an extremely pungent urine smell in the air. It was that man. Frightened by Yi Qing Luo, he urinated on the spot. And when that man was so frightened that he was shivering and his lower body was wet. But there wasn't any pain or death that he had imagined. The moment he opened his eyes. Unknowingly, the young lady was already standing next to the Huangfu family's side. As though she had never come to his side. The gazes of the surrounding people made that person feel extremely ashamed. Yi Qing Luo casually wiped her own hands as her long and narrow eyes glanced towards Ren Jianying's direction as her lips curled, "Tsk. You can't even take fright, so useless." Ren Jianying's hands clenched into fists. Apparently, Yi Qing Luo was intentionally using that man to scold the locust tree, slapping her face through the wall. And, the most important thing was, Yi Qing Luo's actions in public was not only to provoke her, but also to slap her face. He had even stripped her naked in front of everyone. She, the eldest daughter of the Ren family, had also become a joke. At this moment, Ren Jianying finally understood why the black-cloaked man told her not to underestimate this woman. This woman was so arrogant that it seemed as though she had countless trump cards up her sleeves. It was as though she was not afraid of anything. Clearly, he was just a trash without any profound energy. He clearly didn't even have the ability to protect himself. What right did she have to be so arrogant? Ren Jianying suppressed the anger in her chest. She sucked in a deep breath and calmed herself down. Since when has the first miss of the Gu clan been in charge of the matters of our Ren clan? She raised her head with a cold expression. The future successor of the Ren family has nothing to do with the first miss of the Gu estate. I only have one question for you. My younger brother has turned himself into an ordinary person for you. Are you going to accept him or not? Yi Qing Luo's long and narrow eyes raised slightly. No wonder she was able to control the old city's economic lifeline. At such a young age, she was able to become the mastermind behind the scenes in the Ren family, Ren Jianying. In just a few breaths' time. She then adjusted her emotions. Chapter 43-44. Ren Jianying's plan was very good. If she rejected Ren Jianming. In everyone's eyes, she despised Ren Jianming for being a waste and had lost his status as the Ren family's second young master, so she rejected him. Her reputation would be completely ruined under Ren Jianying's conscious leadership. And if she agreed to Ren Jianying's words, Ren Jianying could then express that she would fulfill her brother's true love and let the both of them be together. In the end, it would be a bitter drama. After the Ren family had lost the person who could shoulder the burden, he would naturally become the next head of the Ren family. Yi Qing Luo wanted to clap again. Pfft. She smiled lightly as her lips curled as she laughed disapprovingly. Everyone had been waiting for her answer. Everyone's gazes were gathered on her. The young lady tilted her head as she gave a sarcastic smile. When your brother was still the Ren family's second young master, I had already said that I have no interest in him. In that case, you still want to reject him? Ren Jianying asked. Yi Qing Luo replied, isn't my rejection obvious enough? Ren Jianying laughed as she looked coldly at Ren Jianying. See that, this is the woman you want to choose. She has never thought of being together with you. How much longer are you going to be so silly? Ren Jianming looked at Yi Qing Luo in a daze. What she said earlier replayed in his mind over and over again. Obviously, towards eldest young miss of the Gu residence, He had long known that eldest young miss would not like him and would not accept him. But when he heard eldest young miss say this personally, his heart still felt very upset. It was as if something was squeezing his chest. His throat was blocked up badly. Even when Ren Jianying was talking to him, he didn't hear it. Yiqing Luo suddenly smiled. Her watery eyes were like flowers blooming in spring, breathtaking beyond compare. But, I am a kind-hearted person. Seeing such a pitiful child, I just want to lend a helping hand, to help him. Yiqing Luo's eyes were filled with tears. Since, I've picked him up and raised him for a few days, and he has yet to repay me for taking him in, how can I return him to you so easily? Yiqing Luo's lips curled upwards as her smile suddenly turned more severe. So, if eldest young Miss Ren wants to bring Ren Jianming back, then you'll have to beg me to let him go first. Ren Jianying's expression instantly congealed as she gritted her teeth and stared at Yiqing Luo, her eyes filled with an icy cold intent. She raised her head slightly. Her face was filled with her usual arrogance and conceit. First young lady of the Gu residence, the heaven realm does not belong to your Gu residence. I hope that when we meet again in the future, you can still maintain your current arrogance. Then, she looked at Ren Jianming as if she had made up her mind. She enunciated each word clearly. If this is your final choice, I can tell you very clearly that I can't accept it. So, you are the only heir to the Ren family. I will use my own methods to make you return to the Ren family willingly. Ren Jianming's pupils constricted and he clenched his fists tightly. Whatever you want to do, just come at me. No one understood what Ren Jianying meant. How could Ren Jianming not understand? She was merely finding an excuse to deal with him openly. Ren Jianying's gaze swept past Huangfu Sheng and glanced at Yiqing Luo before turning around to leave. She had just walked out of the crowd. Yiqing Luo suddenly called out to her, eldest young Miss Ren. Chapter 43-45. Yiqing Luo's lips curled into a light smile. Ren Jianming is the only successor of the Ren family, remember what you said. Ren Jianying's tightly clenched fingers tightened a little. Her fingertips started to turn pale. She didn't turn back as she strode away. Yiqing Luo didn't even glance at the direction where Ren Jianying left. She walked straight towards Ren Jianming. Her black and white eyes stared unblinkingly at the man's murky, emotionless eyes. Have you suffered a blow, unable to recover? She opened her mouth, her voice was slightly cold. Ren Jianming's eyelashes fluttered as he slowly shifted his focus onto Yiqing Luo. You've already fallen out with her publicly, do you want to climb back up and take back everything that belongs to you, or do as she wishes, unable to recover from this setback, becoming a waste, living like this? Speaking of this, Yiqing Luo suddenly paused. Her slender fingers pressed her chin as she shook her head, but, even if you want to live like this, I'm afraid. Before you die, you won't be able to find peace. The emotions in Ren Jianming's pupils were like a whirlpool churning. Looking at the man's face, that extremely complicated expression. Yiqing Luo didn't force him any further. Everything needed a period of transition. Especially, kinship. Yiqing Luo understood Ren Jianming's feelings very well. No matter how much he knew that Ren Jianying had done many heinous things, or how many major incidents she had planned behind the scenes. But, he still treated Ren Jianying as his own elder sister. And during this period of time when he was pretending to be a silk pants, Ren Jianying was indeed an irreplaceable elder sister. He even thought that as long as he had no interest in the Ren family's successor position, Ren Jianying would always be his elder sister. Even after knowing that Ren Jianying wanted to annihilate the entire heaven realm, his only thought was to stop Ren Jianying from making mistakes. But in the end, Ren Jianying was still doing it for the Ren family's patriarch position, for the so-called power. She chose to give up on him. No matter who it was, no one would be able to accept this fact. Yiqing Luo lifted her leg and gave his calf a light kick. Enough, don't look so bitter. Go and bandage the injuries on your body, it's so ugly. Ren Jianming was still frozen on the spot, looking at her in a daze. However, his eyes were a little empty. Just as Yiqing Luo was about to give the second kick, Gu Zishi walked over and held onto Yiqing Luo's arm. Let the Huangfu family send him to 100 Medicine House to bandage him up first. Yiqing Luo retracted her leg. Just don't let him die. Gu Zishi poked her and said, I knew you were tough on the outside but soft on the inside. Don't worry, these people were personally picked by Ah Sheng. They are absolutely trustworthy. I naturally trust Ah Sheng's people, but I don't trust the Ren family. Yiqing Luo glanced at Ren Jianming. You just exposed her ambition in front of everyone. If she wants to protect her reputation, she definitely won't do anything to him at this time. Gu Zishi called a few people over to support Ren Jianming. This was the perfect time to strike. Wouldn't that prove that Ren Jianming's bragging just now was just an act? Ren Jianming. Yiqing Luo looked at the man whose eyes were still swirling with whirlpools, as she pointed to the restaurant which was not too far away. Settle yourself properly, then look for us at the restaurant. Saying that, she didn't care if Ren Jianming heard what she said. She lifted her leg and directly walked past Ren Jianming, towards that restaurant. Chapter 43-46. The trio asked for a secluded private room in the restaurant and instructed the shopkeeper to bring Ren Jianming to the private room later. Finally they could reminisce about the past in peace. Huang Fuxing asked impatiently, Ah Luo, why did you come to the heaven realm? It had only been a month since they were separated. Yiqing Luo actually came to the heaven realm from the earth realm? They knew that Yiqing Luo was a genius and her advancement speed was described as swoosh swoosh swoosh. But wasn't this leap a little too big? Wait a minute. The outside world is spreading rumors that eldest young miss of the Gu residence is a waste without any profound energy, then you. Gu Zishi suddenly thought of something as her eyes widened, as she sized Yiqing Luo up from head to toe. What method did you use to conceal your profound energy? Yiqing Luo shrugged her shoulders. Stop looking. As for me, I really have no profound energy. What's going on? Huang Fuxing frowned tightly. Yiqing Luo shook her head. It should be related to that Bone Lord. He sealed the profound energy in my body and I haven't guessed what his motive is. Speaking of Bone Lord. Huang Fuxing's expression turned strange. What's your relationship with Bone Lord? How did you become the eldest miss of the Bone residence? Yiqing Luo sighed and explained how she came to the heaven realm and inexplicably became the Bone Lord's niece, took charge of the Bone residence and became the eldest miss of the Bone residence. Huang Fuxing and Gu Zishi were dumbstruck as they listened with a face full of disbelief. After being shocked for a long time, Huang Fuxing frowned and said, the time I spent in the heaven realm is too short and I have not seen Bone Lord's appearance. But I have heard a lot of rumors about Bone Lord. His identity is very mysterious and his ability is unfathomable. The entire heaven realm almost treat him as a legend. Even grandfather isn't sure when Bone Lord existed. No one knows who Bone Lord is and why he is in the heaven realm. They only know that, even the 4 great heavenly families, even the royal family, don't dare to disrespect the Bone residence. Yiqing Luo pursed her lips and suddenly recalled what Ren Jianming said before. She suddenly raised her head. I want to see old Master Ren. Grandfather will be very happy to know that you're here. Huang Fuxing nodded. Grandfather has asked me to represent the Huangfu clan in the upcoming honor list. He will arrive at the old city in about 2 days. Wind Cloud ranking list. It was about to begin. This also meant that the war that Ren Jianming had mentioned before, which was to destroy the heaven realm, was about to begin. Previously, she was still skeptical about it. Furthermore, there was nothing in the heaven realm that was worth her nostalgia. But, after seeing Ren Jianming today, she could be sure that what Ren Jianming said was absolutely true. That was because no matter how Jianming tried to cover it up, she was still tainted with a dark aura after having sex with someone from the Palace of Gloomy Shadows. On the modeled ambiguous marks on Ren Jianming's body, there was a lingering dark aura. Furthermore, Huangfu Sheng had now stabilized his position in the heaven realm. She couldn't let the Dark Palace destroy the heaven realm just like that. In the heaven realm, her words did not have much authority. She had to discuss this matter with Old Master Ren. Oh yes. Ah Luo, why are you the only one who came to the heaven realm? Didn't the Overlord follow? Gu Zishi looked at Yi Qing Luo's expression and asked cautiously. She seemed to be worried that her words would make Yi Qing Luo unhappy. Chapter 43-47. At the mention of Dmo Xian, Yi Qing Luo's expression revealed a sense of loss. Her eyes were filled with longing for the man. They had been separated for such a long time. She really missed him. She was kidnapped by the barbaric Blood-Bone King to the heaven realm. Would he know that she was in the heaven realm? In fact, she had been acting in a high-profile manner in the earth realm recently, so that everyone in the heaven realm would think of her whenever the Gu residence was mentioned. It was to spread to the ears of Dmo Xian spies in the heaven realm. She was waiting for Dmo Xian to find her. The Overlord is so powerful, he will definitely find you soon. Gu Zishi saw Yi Qing Luo's depressed mood and quickly comforted her. She sat by Yi Qing Luo's side and stretched out her hand to hold her hand. The Overlord's forces are spread across every corner of the upper realm. In a few days' time, it will be the profile list, and as the eldest young miss of the Gu residence, you will definitely have to make an appearance. By then, Yi Qing Luo's gaze fell onto the profound phoenix ring on her fingertip. She curled her lips and caressed the profound phoenix ring. I believe him. Oh yes, Ah Luo. Huangfu Sheng changed the topic. What's going on between you and that Ren family's second young master? Gu Zishi replied, yes, the entire old city is talking about you and second young master Ren. I even heard that. Second young master Ren announced that you are his fiancé. After all, the main characters of this rumor were the future successor of one of the four great heavenly families and the eldest miss of the Gu residence. Based on these two people's identities, it would set off a storm in the heaven realm. Naturally, it would attract the attention of all the major forces. If the two families were really connected by marriage, Ren family and Gu residence's power would definitely be above the other three heavenly families and even the royal family. Therefore, Huangfu Sheng and Gu Zishi, who came to the old city to represent the Huangfu family, had naturally heard of the rumors and speculations about Ren Jianming and Gu residence's eldest Mississippi. That fellow Ren Jianming is just using me as a shield. Yi Qing Luo pouted her lips. Didn't Gong Xia Zhu announce that Ren Jianming is her husband? Shield? A gossipy smile appeared in Gu Zishi's eyes. You mean second young master Ren doesn't like you at all? Did he purposely use your name to sever ties with his elder sister? At this point, Gu Zishi's lips curled into a wicked smile. Don't tell me, that first young miss of the Ren family wants to engage in forbidden, incestuous, relations with the Ren family's second young master. Stop. Yi Qing Luo gave Gu Zishi's head a slap. Stop guessing blindly. As for the exact reason, I'll tell you all when old Master Huangfu is here. Gu Zishi was in pain. She covered her head and leaned into Huangfu Sheng's arms. You're still so mysterious, and you're still so ruthless to me. Then, he looked up at Huangfu Sheng and complained, Ah Sheng, Ah Luo hit me. Huangfu Sheng couldn't help but laugh. He looked at Gu Zishi with doting eyes and raised his hand to gently press her forehead. His voice was very gentle. It won't hurt if I rub it. When I have the chance, I will help you take revenge. Yi Qing Luo, if a gaze could kill someone. She wanted to use her gaze to kill the both of them. She grabbed the wooden chopsticks and started to face the dishes on the table. She obviously knew how much she missed Ah Xian, but still purposely showed off their affection to provoke her. Chapter 43-48. Was it a big deal to show off their love? Wait until Ah Xian found her. She wanted to let the two of them have a taste of different kinds of dog food. On the top of the towering mountain peak, The crescent moon that was like a curved hook hung in the sky. The clear and bright light seemed to coat everything in the surroundings with a layer of coldness. Cold mist lingered around the mountain peak, spreading in the air of China. The howling wind kept blowing everything around it. A tall and slender figure stood on the edge of the mountain peak. The strong wind blew on his body. That figure was swaying, as if he would fall off the cliff at any time. Behind him, a fairy-like woman in a long white dress slowly walked over. "Are you still worried?" The man heard the figure, but did not turn back. The strong wind blew his long hair. His robe was also fluttering in the wind. That peerless face was filled with a chilling coldness. The boy from the D family. The woman was used to the man's attitude, sighed softly. "That girl is more tenacious than anyone else, she will be fine. She loves you as deeply as you love her. So smart, so strong, so in love with you, she will never let anything happen to her before you find her." Perhaps it was the mention of the word she. The man finally had some reaction, his eyelashes moved slightly, and the expression on his face became even colder. The woman walked to his side, raised her head, and looked at the gloomy man. "The forces of the imperial palace in various places are searching for her trace. I think there will be news soon. Baisu, if you have something to say, just say it." The man interrupted her with a cold expression. The woman curled her lips with a bored face. "Really boring, nothing can be hidden from you. Can't I just simply comfort you? Anyway, we have known each other for a long time, friends." These two people were Baisu and Dmo Xian. Dmo Xian glanced at her indifferently. "I am not in the mood to joke with you." Baisu put her palms together and said, "Fine, fine, fine. I know you're worried about that girl and in a bad mood. I'll just say it." She raised her head and stared fixedly at Dmo Xian. "Bai Mei escaped from the Heavenly Law dungeon and the annals have been tracking her whereabouts. You know about this, right?" Dmo Xian's eyes sunk slightly as he pulled his thin lips into a smile which didn't look like a smile. "In the Earth realm, bringing someone to impersonate this lord and plotted to frame little Luo, then leading little Luo, to the Linglong Palace. If it wasn't for her, little Luo, would not have been targeted by the barbaric Bloodbone King. His little Luo heir would never leave his side. He knew that the barbaric Bloodbone King would not harm Lil Luo heir for the time being. However, he could not help but worry. Hearing this, Baisu looked away guiltily. She coughed softly. "You should also know that she's running around outside. It's easy for her to cause you more trouble. So, go and capture her and bring her back to the Heavenly Dao prison." "Ha." Dmo Xian snorted lightly as his thin lips curled into an arc with some ridicule. "Do you think that by placing her in the Heavenly Law dungeon, she'll be safe?" A trace of embarrassment flashed past Baisu's beautiful eyes. The plan in her heart had been guessed by Dmo Xian. Talking to this kind of person. He really didn't leave her any space to speak or retreat. "If you let this lord capture her, this lord may not be able to control himself and kill her." Dmo Xian sneered. Chapter 43-49 /mobile reading /mobile reading Chapter 43-41 I only want little Luo, to be safe and sound. She sighed and suddenly raised her head. She looked at the expression on the man's face, which seemed to be covered with a layer of frost. She was a little helpless and dejected. "There's nothing I can do. Bai Mei doesn't even want to acknowledge me as her sister anymore. She's been holding a grudge against me all this time. Only you can attract her attention." Baisu's expression became more solemn. "Dmo Xian, I've never asked you for anything. This time, I'm begging you, okay? I just want my only sister to be able to live." Dmo Xian's eyes flickered and fell on Baisu. Looking at Baisu's serious face, the coldness on his body dissipated a little. "I only want my little Luo, to be safe and sound. This is the last time. If Bai Mei returns to the Heavenly Law dungeon, I promise you that I will not give her another chance." Baisu's eyes were filled with sincerity. Dmo Xian remained silent. Baisu seized the opportunity to say, I received news that Bai Mei is now in the heaven realm. Aren't you also investigating the person behind the Palace of Darkness? Bai Mei has already joined the Palace of Darkness. Her being in the heaven realm means that the power of the Palace of Darkness has already infiltrated the heaven realm. As she spoke, she paid attention to Dmo Xian's expression. Seeing that he did not have any other reaction, she continued, in the heaven realm, the honor list is about to begin. I'm worried that Bai Mei and the Palace of Gloomy Darkness will tamper with the honor list. Seeing that Dmo Xian was still expressionless, he did not intend to bother with her. Baisu decided to make a big move. You've almost turned the whole earthly realm upside down, but you still couldn't find the girl's whereabouts. Maybe she has been taken to the heaven realm by the barbaric Blood-Bone King? Go to the heaven realm and look for that girl's whereabouts. Also, help me bring Bai Mei back. How about it? The man finally turned his head slightly, his cold and thin eyes lightly fell on her body. Baisu was delighted. Indeed, only Yi Qing Luo's name could make the overlord react. Heaven Realm, Restaurant. As Yi Qing Luo was eating, she was chatting with Huangfu Sheng and Gu Zishi. At the same time, he also understood what was going on in the Huangfu family. It turned out that when the two of them first arrived at the Huangfu clan, not only were they not welcomed, but the entire Huangfu clan even requested the old man to send them away. Furthermore, when they were verifying whether he was a descendant of the Huangfu clan, they even tampered with him and forced him to admit that he was a fake. Fortunately, Old Master Huangfu absolutely believed in Huangfu Sheng's identity. He single-handedly stopped the entire Huangfu clan from opposing him and forced them to accept his existence. Later, Huangfu Sheng found out the reason why everyone in the Huangfu family disliked her. That was because the young master and young mistress of the Huangfu clan had spread the news of his ambition everywhere and portrayed him as a scheming person who would deceive the old master. Naturally, everyone objected to his existence. Old Master Huangfu was willing to go this far for him. How could he disappoint the old man? Hence, the fourth miss of Huangfu clan, Huang Fengyan, framed him once. He fought back with his own ability and stood up when Huang Fengyan almost destroyed a branch of the Huangfu clan because of her framing. He risked his life to save the branch. From then on, everyone changed their opinion of him. There will be an update today. See you tonight. Small theater, the Overlord. Where's the scene where the Overlord is going to appear? I've even become the background. Mo, if there are no tickets, there will be no Overlord. The Overlord, sneer, do you want to die? Mo, I only want tickets. Kill me if you have the ability. Kill me and you will be separated from your little Luo, forever. The Overlord. What a ruthless man. Mo, why don't you use a honey trap and ask for tickets? If there are enough tickets, you can exchange them for your appearance ticket. The Overlord takes out his weapon. Hurry. Hurry. Throw. Tickets. End of this chapter. Chapter 4350. Mobile reading. And with his and Gu Zishi's hard work. In the short span of a month. The two of them, from being opposed by everyone, to now, they were able to have a place in the Huangfu family and even the Heaven Realm. Almost the entire Heaven Realm knew about it. The Huangfu clan had one more person, Huangfu Sheng, who Old Master Huangfu doted on the most and was extremely powerful. This time, Huangfu Sheng had brought Gu Zishi along as the representative of the Huangfu family to participate in the honor list. He was laying the foundation for his future. As long as the Huangfu clan was able to obtain a dazzling result on the reputation list, Huangfu Sheng's position in the Huangfu clan was basically unshakable. Very good, well done. Yi Qing Luo put down her chopsticks and looked at Huangfu Sheng with approval. In the future in the Heaven Realm, I will rely on you to cover me. As he was speaking, a burst of hurried footsteps came from outside the room. Immediately after, a hurried knock sounded on the door. Come in. Huangfu Sheng stopped smiling and said indifferently. The door was opened, and the waiter hurriedly walked in while panting heavily. Oh no. Young Master Huangfu, Missy, second young Master Ren. Second young Master Ren is blocked at the door, Ren Jianming? Yi Qing Luo's expression turned cold as she suddenly stood up. What's the matter? Just now. Second young Master Ren came to look for first young mistress. I followed first young mistress instructions and brought second young Master Ren here, but unexpectedly, we met Princess Xia Zhu. Gong Shizhu? It was her again. Yi Qing Luo's eyes sunk. Go out and take a look. First floor lobby. At this moment, it was already a mess. The dining table and chairs fell to the ground. There were also various kinds of oil and vegetable soup on the ground. All kinds of bowls and chopsticks were shattered on the ground. Yi Qing Luo's gaze swept the surroundings and finally fell onto the entrance of the restaurant. Ren Jianming squatted on the ground in embarrassment. The white cloth wrapped around his body was also stained with blood because of the several pushes. Around him, there were 6 women dressed in servant attire. Standing in front of Ren Jianming and looking down at him was Gong Xiazhu, who was dressed in luxurious clothes and had exquisite makeup. He could tell. Just now, there had been quite a big dispute here. Many people gathered around the restaurant to watch the show. They pointed at him, and their words were filled with laughter and ridicule. However, Gong Xiazhu did not care about the opinions of the people around her. In her eyes, Ren Jianming was the only person she could see. Brother Ming, follow me back to the palace. I'm the only one who can restore you to your previous status and identity. Only I can pull you back to your glorious days. Gong Xiazhu looked straight at Ren Jianming and said word by word, as long as you are with me, no one will dare to touch you. Even if it's the Ren family, I will definitely protect you. The passionate confession was still unable to warm the man's heart. Ren Jianming's face was ashen. He wanted to stand up. But the other maids immediately took a step forward. He forcefully pressed him to the ground. Gong Xiazhu slowly squatted down by Ren Jianming's side as her eyes gazed at Ren Jianming's face in a daze. Brother Ming, for such a long time, don't tell me you're still not clear about my feelings towards you? She stretched out her hand, wanting to caress Ren Jianming's face. I don't mind that you're unable to cultivate. I will use my actions to prove that I like you. Absolutely not because of your cultivation innate talent or your family background. What I like, is you as a person. Her fingers were just about to caress the man's face. But the man immediately turned his head, avoiding her outstretched hand. This book came from Chapter 43-51. Mobile reading. Gong Xiazhu's hand froze in midair. Her face darkened slightly, but she was still patient and continued, Brother Ming, everything I said came from the bottom of my heart. Follow me back to the palace, okay? As she spoke, her hand slid down to his waist. Then, she slowly placed her hand on his palm. Princess Xia Zhu, please behave yourself. Ren Jianming's body stiffened and he flung Gong Xiazhu's hand away. As soon as he moved, the 6 maids around him squeezed forward and pressed down on Ren Jianming's hands, preventing him from moving. Gong Xiazhu held Ren Jianming's face as she wished. Her lips curled into a sweet smile. Brother Ming, only I love you the most. Are you still hoping that the first young mistress of the Gu clan will save you? No, she won't save you. She slowly leaned her head against his chest. No matter how Ren Jianming struggled, the 6 maids were like boulders, not moving at all. Gong Xiazhu put her head on his chest and said with a smile on her face, when you were the second young master of the Ren clan, she looked down on you. Now that you have become a good-for-nothing, she looks down on you even more. Gong Xiazhu. Ren Jianming's body tensed up, and his face was filled with disgust towards Gong Xiazhu. It's none of your business whether the first miss likes me or not. I don't like you. I don't like a lunatic like you. Yeah, I'm crazy. Gong Xiazhu chuckled softly, and a treacherous cold light flickered between her brows. You have already become like this, but I still like you. I like you hopelessly. I must be crazy to like you so much. As she spoke, her laughter became more and more frantic. In the end, it turned into laughter. She lay on Ren Jianming's chest and raised her head, her eyes intertwined with his. She smiled brilliantly. Brother Ming, the current you can't escape. Princess Xia Zhu. Ren Jianming's body stiffened. He stared at Gong Xiaozhu's crazed expression and softened his tone. A forceful melon won't be sweet. Princess Xiaozhu, you deserve someone better. To me, you're the best person. Gong Xiaozhu's eyes were filled with unconcealable affection for him. Feelings can be cultivated. I like you so much. One day, you will be touched by me. She seemed to have thought of something and laughed softly. She lifted Ren Jianming's chin with one hand. At the same time, she slowly moved her lips towards Ren Jianming's. I've already prepared a courtyard for you in the princess mansion. You'll definitely like it there, and you'll definitely like me. His lips slowly approached. The infatuation in his eyes was even more obvious. Ren Jianming wanted to avoid it. However, the servant behind him held him down tightly and forced him to accept Gong Xiaozhu's kiss. The scent of a woman was getting closer and closer. Ren Jianming's body tensed up, and the arc of his struggle became even more pronounced. Just as their lips were about to touch. Suddenly, a gust of wind blew past. Gong Xiaozhu felt a cold light flash before her eyes. There was no time to evade. He suddenly felt a sharp pain on his cheek. Her body was also thrown to the ground by the hurricane. Thud. A red feather fan that looked like a raging flame fell beside Ren Jianming's feet. Gong Xiaozhu recognized that feather fan at first glance. Her expression immediately became ferocious and twisted. The eldest miss of the Gu mansion. Oh, the dignified princess is actually kidnapping a man and forcing a woman to be a prostitute. The girl's frivolous voice revealed a bit of laziness. This book came from. You're tuning into the Dreamy Love Stories YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.